Think about your own learning when you think about engagement. What was the most engaging course you've ever taken? Why was that course so engaging? What happened in the course to engage you? I still remember my Introduction to Education course at Minnesota State University with Dr. Cooper. His passion for education sucked you in. I loved being in class. I couldn't wait to go every day to see what he had prepared, see what articles we would dive into, see what research we would look at. I was so engaged with the content and with classmates. What's your example? Take a moment to write down on a piece of paper, just any piece of scratch paper will do, what course came to mind and why that course came to mind. What was it about the particular course? What happened in that course that engaged you so much? Pause the video here and reflect and write. Reflect and write is a great activity to do in all modalities. It helps the learner make those personal connections to content. If we were doing this same activity in a face-to-face workshop or with students in a classroom, I'd have them write on sticky notes so we could collect them and arrange them and maybe group them to see if there were any similar trends in the responses. Think of all the examples you just wrote down and think about the examples of your classmates if we were collecting them in a face-to-face class. Do you think we could organize those examples across these 3 domains? Encouraging student engagement with the instructor, with other students, and with content. Today, as you're thinking about student engagement, I want you to be really intentional and reflective about how and where students are engaged. You'll have the opportunity to do some brainstorming in an activity later. We've got a little template for you. But we want you to really think about what opportunities do you provide or could you provide for students to be engaged with you? How do you engage with the students as the instructor? What do you do to encourage students to engage with other students? Think about all of your content and all of your activities. How do you nurture that engagement? We know that students are more successful if they have connections with other students in class, if they have kind of like a support team or a support group. Lastly, but the one that I think we think about the most often is how do you help students engage with the content? How do you help them be not just passive readers or listeners, but truly engaged with the content? What activities do they do? Students are more likely to be successful if they are engaged with the instructor, with other students, and with the content. In addition to looking at opportunities for engagement across domains, think about different modalities: engagement in the physical classroom and engagement in the online environment. Many of us had to make significant changes to our course delivery when we transitioned from the classroom to remote learning. We had to think about engagement differently and really reflect on what the experience in the course is like for our students. My students reported one of the most challenging aspects to moving online was not being with their peers, not sitting in the classroom beside them every week and learning in those cooperative and collaborative activities. What can we strategically do to really help students feel engaged in any environment? What logistics and dynamics do we need to think about when preparing students to engage in the classroom setting? What supplies do we need, or what tools do we use? How do you group or partner students? How does all of that engagement change when you take the content and move to an online environment? Or vice versa for our online faculty. How would your online course look, and what would change if you were to move to a traditional face-to-face environment? I'd like to give you a sneak peek overview into the day ahead so you know what to expect. But the first thing that you will do is go into your base groups and work on a knotty problem. There's more on the next slide, and the content is also in your group activity, so I don't want you to feel like you have to write everything down right now. All the content is embedded in the activity. But after you do your base group activity and have a small group discussion, you're going to explore some of the content. There's so much out there on active learning. Feel free to research additional strategies outside of this course as well. But I want you to particularly spend some time on the Patricia Cross website that's embedded. It has over 45 videos of active learning techniques designed for the college classroom. The videos are fantastic. We've created a brainstorming sheet for you to use as you explore content, so you can capture strategies, take notes, and begin to think about engagement strategies you may want to try in your own course. You will not be turning this brainstorming sheet in. It's just for you. After all of your exploring and brainstorming, the assignment today is to create a Google slide highlighting one engagement strategy or activity. You can create this slide independently, or you can work with a partner from your group. You may want to discuss this when you first meet in your group to do the Knotty Problem. This is the one assignment you will be submitting today. But the cool thing about adding one slide to a slide deck that's part of a class slide deck is that when you leave today, each of you will all have a collection of all of the slides, the ones that your classmates created as well. This is a keeper. We would strongly recommend that right before we have that group webinar at 1 o'clock, you meet with your group maybe at 12:30 to just share your slide that you've created, get any feedback and suggestions from them before we come back together at 1 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, we'll show some of those really cool activities that you've created, and that's how we'll wrap up for the day. There's a brief 3-question survey that we'll want you to take to complete some feedback at the end. So in a nutshell, you get a lot of time to explore today, some time to work in groups, and you'll be creating one Google slide to share with the class. So let's get ready to get our group on and get into your groups, and here will be the activity you do for the day when you discuss in the groups. The activity is called Knotty Problem, and you're going to discuss what is your biggest challenge engaging students in the face-to-face or online. You can read through those directions on how you'll do this little active learning technique. And again, this technique is also in the group slide, group activity once you get there, so you don't feel like you have to write everything down right now. We just want to get that conversation going, let you learn from your classmates and peers, and at the end, I can't wait to see the slide that you'll produce. Have a great time today. We're excited to see you at the other end.